I'm a positive person. I don't like negativity around and everything's bad and everything's... No, there's a lot of good. You know, what people don't really realise is the drop they were talking about, oh, the good that's being done is a drop in the ocean. It's no longer a drop in the ocean, it's a stream. It's a small stream, but it's a stream. There are people helping people to rise to their potential, and those people that have been plucked out of the most dire poverty are really proving their worth. And it actually makes me personally ashamed and guilty of how much talent was wasted during the apartheid years. By suppressing the people who had enormous intelligence and an enormous amount to give, and they weren't able to expand, I feel terribly guilty. And so I've always used what little power I have to help people get ahead, because I and Raymond too can see potential in people.
Are we seeing a similar situation with foreign nationals coming to work in South Africa that don't have the right paperwork, who have a lot to give to the economy?
Absolutely.
But can't really?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Barbara Bush just died. Did you see that? When George Bush Sr. took over in 95, he said it's not the government that keeps America going, it's the 1,000 points of light, all the NGOs right through America. And to me, that's what keeps our country. I mean, the 1,000 points of light we have here, which you were talking about, is very strong and gets stronger all the time. And he put down the fact that America really runs because of those 1,000 points of light.
And just your experiences with Mr. Mandela, a tremendous individual, obviously.
Warm and very warm and loving, really.
He came here shortly after he got out of. When he was released. He went to various businesses just to introduce himself. He came here and he said, "I'm not going to talk too much to you. Can I go around the office?" And he went around shaking hands with everyone. They were all scared of a black leader and all the Afrikaans white people and so on. Do you know, he won them over in an hour with his charm. And I made a hell of a blue. My office and Wendy's office overlooked this beautiful site. I said, "Just look at this, Mr. Mandela. There's so much we can all do in South Africa." He said, "Raymond Ackerman, if I may call you Raymond," he says, "I watched that bloody mountain for 23 years, so don't talk to me about that view." I've never forgotten that, but he was an amazing, amazing man. And we were very fortunate and unfortunate not to have people like him following him. But I think we've got a chance with Ramaphosa, I really do. I got to know him during the Olympics because Mr. Mandela said, "I'll give you Cyril Ramaphosa, who is my choice to follow me, to make you get through all the red tape of government, because we need to get government on side." So I got to know pretty well, and when all this happened recently, we had lots of debates about it. I said, this guy is different and he's going to make a difference, and I feel very strongly. But of course he's got to win over so many people in the ANC as well, because he's got a lot of opposition to face internally, let alone externally. But I think he's the guy.
And the land issue, how can that be solved where everybody can walk away happy?
Well, it'll be solved by recognizing that there is a land problem. It should have been handled over the last 20 years better than it has, but all three governments, including Mandela, didn't do enough. But I think that we'll solve it without affecting the food situation in the country by having takeovers of farms. It's going to be handled. It should be handled, but not to affect the future of the country. It is a big issue, I know, and a very emotional issue, but it will be solved amicably and sensibly, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And both of you, your legacy for Pick n Pay, what would you like to be remembered?
My legacy is the people who we've been fortunate enough to help educate. That's my legacy.
And we have
And hopefully some really top leaders and humanitarians will come out of it. By the way, one thing I didn't tell you is on the 10th of May we have our lunch for 1,000 women, which we have every year, to highlight abuse of women and children.
How long have you been doing that now?
I think this is our 13th year.
Would you say equality is going in the right direction?
Yes, it's with halts and trips and and then leaps and bounds. Yes, equality. It's so much easier for women today than it was when I got involved. So much easier. I mean, we had our board meeting 2 days ago, and we have got such a nice balance around our board table. It's just right.
And then the next generation of Ackermans, the grandchildren, anybody showing interest there?
We're very proud of our grandchildren. Some are way off in their thinking, wanting to do something entirely different from supermarketing. But there are a couple of them doing business courses at Stellenbosch in Cape Town. And we're very excited by them. I don't think they go to cluster into Pick n Pay. They're also so individual. But out of 12, I think 2 or 3 of them are very strong.
May come in.
Will come through.
And then how do you maintain that solid work ethic when the next generation's got everything they could ever want?
Well, one of them, if I may say, is the fact that Wendy works full-time. Here, I work up to lunchtime every day. I didn't just retire. I run our 5 academies. And the kids see what Wendy does, what I do. And we've noticed a strong work ethic coming through with it.
They are hard workers and they are very conscious of the community, all of them. And that gives us great pleasure.
And whether they will stay in this country or not is up to them. But we are trying to show them the positive side that we've talked about here. And as we nearly left in the 60s, we keep telling them that story, and we wouldn't have none of this would have been here. And the same fears and worries with young people that we had, they've got now, obviously, young people what to do.
But you know what? At one stage we had 4 children on 4 continents.
That must have been tough, isn't
it? It was terribly tough, quite a lot of travelling, but they all came back. After Mandela was released, they all came back one way or another. And the grandchildren are now travelling a lot, seeing the world, seeing what the world has to offer. And one of them said just last weekend, I've been to many places as a young person in the world. He said, I love it here.
Yes, and you both have been very much innovators over your career. What's the next innovation of the business?
Africa, but not just saying we're going to expand through Africa, but finding the right formula to help expand what we've tried to do in this country, in Africa. That's the big thing. Keeping this country strong and doing something strong in Africa. At the moment we're in about 8 or 9 countries. We've tried this and we've tried that, different types of our, what are the different types of stores? Formats.
Yeah.
And to me the greatest thing is to have a strong African business.
And presumably you've had your golden anniversary already. What are the keys to a long, successful marriage and staying healthy?
Well, I think working together has been terribly important. And working together and having...
And each of us being independent, although interdependent. I mean, our offices are next door to each other. We see each other in office mode 2 or 3 or 4 times a day, but we still each have our own portfolios and do what we do, and we'll go to each other for advice, but we won't interfere. And although we both got different interests, Ray's much more sporty than I am, but I go to sport with him, or I'll watch golf on television, or rugby, and he'll come with me to concerts and to the opera. So I don't know. I think basically, in the end, to have a good marriage, you have to have good communication and a deep friendship. We read similar books, we discuss the books, and
we discuss problems.
We did, yeah.
I'm obviously worried about not just succession, I've done that, but how things will be when I go. And just the other day, I said, Wendy, I'm worried about one aspect. And we talked about it, and she said something to me which made me change my will that I was planning. So just being able to talk to somebody who you really trust, and it's worked.
And both of us have not stood still education-wise. We've both continued with our education in one direction or another. We've never sat back and been complacent and said, well, things are good, let's not rock the boat. We haven't been afraid to rock the boat.
And the same with your stores. I was walking through your Constantia store. It looks like it's recently been refurbished. It looks beautiful in there, and you've got 15 massive JoJo's outside. So sustainability. It's really an impressive setup, so to speak.
Yeah, we've really tried to keep modern and not. That's just one of our formats. The day we opened the renovation in Constantia, we supported a spaza shop in Gugulethu. We got about 20 of those. That we have all these franchise stores. We just are saying, keep your own business, but we'll help you run a modern operation. And we just got a new format of helping spaza shops. They're not franchised like our other 500 or 600 franchise stores, who are, it's owned by them, but we help them run. And these guys are doing so well. We supply them through our warehouse, so they're getting our goods at our prices, not at prices that they could negotiate. So it's always changing, and it's always keeping involved in South Africa, I think, is so important, and being positive about it. It's as you said initially, it's so easy to be negative. I could say 20 things to you today that's wrong with this country, but there's a hell of a lot right.